Hi, welcome to Beyond the Fundamentals. In this video, I want to talk about the future of Beyond the Fundamentals, what we're doing now, what we're planning to do, and I also want to talk about the role that finances plays in our ability to keep doing what we're doing and in our ability to expand our scope into what we want to do. So yes, as I'm telling you what's going on, I also will be asking for people to support this ministry financially if you want to see it continue, especially if you want to see it grow. And I'm going to lay out the vision for this for what's going on here, if you want to call it a ministry or not, so that you can kind of see where I want to go with it. So Beyond the Fundamentals, we are right now strictly a video ministry. And I speak at churches if I get invited to go talk to a church, but I do not, I guess it's not strictly video. We do have one place on Wednesday mornings where we meet and talk with a small group of people, and then we film that. But basically it's a video ministry. And I'll meet at a church if I'm invited to go talk to a church. But there is a lot of strength in a video ministry, and I want to explain what that strength is in relation to what we do. So one of the main focuses we've had on this channel, and a focus that I would like to continue having, is to arm and equip people to face Calvinism and stop it. And people ask me all the time, why the deal about Calvinism? And because Calvinism sneaks into non-Calvinist churches covertly, and non-Calvinist churches get taken over by Calvinists unbeknownst to the people until years later, until you already know and love the people who are involved, and you're like, well, Brother Melms would never do that. Well, yes, Brother Melms would do that. And when you're not sure whether or not something's Calvinist, or when you're not sure how to approach it once you know it's Calvinistic, that's what we're here for. That's what we want to try to do. What I want to try to do is give you a toolkit. I actually want to make a series, at least a video or a series of videos on what to do if you find yourself in a Calvinistic church that is not advertising itself as such. In other words, like a Baptist church that's been taken over by Calvinists. I would not encourage anybody to cause upheaval or unrest in, say, a Presbyterian church, okay? Because that's overtly Calvinistic. Same goes if you're in a church that's a Baptist church, but it says like Grace Reformed Baptist Church on the title. I would not encourage anybody to be a member of or cause an uprising or upheaval in a church like that. They are admittedly Calvinist. They're upfront about it, and kudos to them for being upfront about it. My issue is with churches and church leaders who do not admit on the forefront what their agenda is, and they sneak it in and they convert people covertly, and then you have to find out later. And you think you're listening to good sermons, and then pretty soon stuff starts to not add up, and it traces back to where they're trying to push this over on you. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be a resource to Christians who are in this situation. Most of what I do is not on anybody's radar screen. It's not relevant to anybody. People ask me, even Christians ask me all the time, why are you doing those videos? Why do you do videos on that? Why does that matter? You know, we start talking about the concept of predestination and things like that. And once we see how far into the weeds it gets, a lot of people are like, well, you know, why does anybody care that much about it? And that's just it. Most people, it's not a huge deal to them until they realize something's not right in their Christian experience, in their milieu, and they figure out they need to do something about, hey, what is this strange language? What is this sovereign grace stuff? What is this unconditional? What is this stuff going on? And then that's when it becomes relevant, only when they have to fight the battle. And so it is a small group of people to whom this is relevant. So if you are in a church, one of the values of this video ministry is if you are in a church and you stand up and you decide that you want to say something, okay? You can get booted out. You can get shut down. You can get stopped. If a pastor decides that he wants to try to help a church with a different way of thinking than what they've been doing, he can get booted out. Or you know, if the congregation becomes taken over by Calvinists underneath the pastor, and he still tries to stand for truth, or the denomination can boot out a pastor that if they're trying to turn it into a Calvinistic denomination, he doesn't play along. So when you speak out in your specific scenario with your local people, there is a risk factor involved where you can be socially outgrouped and then lose your effectiveness to be able to fight that battle. Now, that's the typical hero myth, if you will, just like Jesus Christ. When you stand up and say something that goes contrary to the group think or to the way the group has always thought, or you try to help address a problem that the people aren't necessarily convinced is a problem, you become the bad guy, and then you get crucified for it. And that's just how it happens. That's a fractal pattern in human nature, in human history, in human societies. It's always going to happen that way. So what we can do is we can kind of outsource that to where this video ministry can be the bad guy for you. And we can be, beyond the fundamentals, we can be an unstoppable force that cannot be quieted by any establishment. We are not a pastor that they can fire. We are not a church member that they can kick out. We are not a board member or a trustee at a seminary that they can fire or get rid of or vote out, or a seminary president that they can get rid of. We are not something they can get rid of. We are not something that, and I say we because there's a lot of people behind me, both with financial support and who help me with some of the content, music, video, things like that pitch into what we do. And we are a unified front that they cannot censor away from their people. In the old days, they used to burn books. You know, if you look at the way societies are built, you can either incentivize people to come to your city and help make it thrive, or you can put chains on people and make them come to your city if you can't incentivize them to do so. People cannot incentivize people toward Calvinism, so they have to be tricked into it after they get converted to Christianity. Once they get tricked into it, then you have to keep them there. In the old days, you could ban books, and people would listen. They put all this authority and trust in Brother Melms, and Brother Melms says, don't read books by so-and-so because they're a heretic. People would listen, okay? And we're in the day and age now where information is everywhere. So the advent of YouTube, videos, podcasting, that kind of thing is like some people have recently said, it's like a Gutenberg Press revolution where there is a lot more information available to the common man, to the common lay person that was not available before. And now you really don't, seminary, you can spend $80,000 going to seminary to learn a bunch of fancy 50-cent words, or you can pick up your smartphone and double click on a word and get all the Greek and Hebrew and the parsing, all that kind of stuff without having to pay $80,000 for schooling for it. So the capacity for seemingly educated people to mislead a bunch of lay people is rapidly diminishing, and it should already be gone, but there's still people who don't use the resources that are available to them. I encourage people to take out their smart devices, and I don't want them to be distracted while I'm talking, but go ahead and Google what I'm saying. Go ahead and look up what I'm saying and hold me accountable. Now, that is the biggest enemy to somebody who's trying to mislead you, is when you can hold them accountable. What we do here is we are trying to hold people accountable. So you will have information at your fingertips to where if somebody is conducting bad sense making and trying to force it off on you, you can protect yourself for it, and you can challenge that person and hold them accountable for their attempt to do so, and hopefully grow in your capacity and ability to do that. Now, one person standing up and doing something at a church to try to right a wrong, that's one event in one place, and it's probably not going to go well. Statistically, they usually don't go well. But what we can do in this channel, instead of one person sacrificing themselves everywhere they go, we can be a scalable, distributed, we can distribute the risk cost of being outgrouped through video. So that instead of you having to stand up and be the sacrificial lamb of the good idea, if you will, of trying to do the right thing, this video series or this video channel can leak into a congregation to where everybody becomes informed and knows what to look for. So really, I'm outsourcing the sacrificial lamb to this channel so that you don't necessarily personally have to do it, but maybe nudge a few people to watch a few videos, and then the information starts to spread, and then the person who's trying to deceive the church no longer has the captive audience that is uninformed to the point where they're willing to listen to such nonsense. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do here. So what we do is we create a presence of available information which holds organizations accountable to their potential constituency. And that could be a church being held accountable to its congregation. It could be a seminary being held accountable to its potential students, or professors being held accountable to their students. Like, hey, you're misleading us. I know you have an idea of a professor in your mind who knows things, right? But they fail to realize, and people who think that way fail to realize that everything a professor says can be fact-checked in just a few minutes by anybody with a smartphone sitting right there in the classroom listening to them. So the mystique of how much the professor knows, I think it should go away. I mean, the education system today is outmoded anyway. I mean, I have even where I work outside of the theological realm, I do not have a master's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. I work in IT infrastructure, project management, and in cybersecurity. I do not have a degree in any one of those. I have certifications in those things. I'm certified to do them, but I don't have a degree. And the people that work for me are the ones that have the degrees, and I make more money than them. Okay, so and I'm not trying to talk about me. What I'm trying to say is that the educational system is a far gone, long time since outmoded way of mimetically transmitting information to people, and it's not as valuable as people still tend to think that it is. As far as now, it's valuable in the sense where we won't hire you unless you have this kind of degree. Maybe then it's valuable, but as far as its off-the-shelf value for what it can do for you to transform you, it has no value there. Okay. So you need to understand that. And a channel like this can hold those institutions. If you're trying to get the value of having that sheet of paper so that you can get hired doing X, Y, Z, this will give you an opportunity to still do that, but also get more value out of the process by holding your professors accountable and actually learning something rather than them just transmitting dogmatism to you that they want you to know so that you have approved opinion rather than the ability to ascertain facts and conduct your own sense making and exercise discernment. So also what a video channel like this does is it's available to anyone, so it removes the scarcity of information, which gives concepts like seminary the illusion of value. All right? and so when you go to seminary, you kind of have the idea that if I want to be a professional Christian and do professional Christian things, that's the only place where I can go learn the things that I need to know. And that's not. If you watch this channel, you know that we cover things. If you've ever been to seminary and you watch this channel, you know that we go deeper into things here than they do in the seminary. So the information is available here. And if people want a video on a particular thing, we try to go into that as well. Now that brings us into what we would like to do next. So first of all, bear that in mind. As a video ministry, if you will, we have the capacity to reach places where physical people have much more difficulty and a much higher level of risk in doing so. So we're trying to reach out and do this. So we serve in that function. Now, I have a proposed video, what I would like to be doing if I had the time and resources to do it. I would like to do videos on basically 5 areas of videos: Calvinism. And so we say weekly I do 5 videos, like one every weekday. And I know we're nowhere near that now, and I'll explain why. But I would like to do videos that continue to expose Calvinism. I would like to do videos that continue to develop our sense making and our ability to conduct sense making in any field. And then we would specifically be applying that to theology and the different paradigms within theology, and then breaking them down, studying mimetic, sense-making, discernment, personal sovereignty, those kinds of things, to increase your level of capacity to articulate the things that you think are true and decipher signal from noise, that sort of thing. And I also want to do videos, so that's 2 things. The third thing, I'd like to do more videos on comments and questions. I get a lot of great comments and a lot of stupid comments on the comment section in YouTube. I get some questions and comments on Facebook, Messenger, both the Beyond the Fundamentals page and my personal, and also via email. And I feel really bad sometimes because when I get questions, I get great questions in emails. Some of you who have emailed me, I see your questions, and I got great questions, and I want to answer them. And some questions are so repetitive, like, in other words, so many people ask the same question that it makes a lot more sense to do a video on that question rather than to answer everybody's question individually. And what I want to get to is to where I answer all questions in videos. But, of course, that takes time. But that's what I would like to get to. And I think some of the questions people are asking, one of the most common ones that I get is, do a video on the rapture or the pre-trib rapture, that kind of thing. What are my views on that? And what's my perspective on it? Do a video. I've been working on that, or I've been mentally, throwing it around in my head, brainstorming on exactly how to approach that since 2014. Okay? And it's shifting my focus away from Calvinism to do something like that. It always seems like there's something else I need to do first. And I wanted to do the biblical interpretation series, and I wanted to do the 8 A's of salvation. And then we can go in and take that information back and then look at something like the rapture. And I think it would make a lot more sense if you've seen those videos. So I want to address your comments and questions as the third kind of video that I want to make, hopefully weekly. And then I want to do sermon exposés. For example, you send me a sermon. Is my pastor a Calvinist? You send me a sermon, hopefully audio and typed if you can, because that would help me. That way I don't have to get a transcript of it. And if you can send me a written version of one of your pastor's sermons, I can do a video on it and tell you whether or not that pastor is a Calvinist. And I would be willing to be as specific or as non-specific as you like. In other words, I could call the church out, or I could not say anything about who it was or where it was, and only you will know. And when you send that video out, everyone in your church will know that, hey, this is about that kind of thing. So we could do it either way. I don't care. But it's kind of like journalism, investigative journalism, where people are held accountable for what they say. Corporations, governments, things like that are supposed to be held accountable by the media, is the function that it's supposed to serve. And that's something that we could do, kind of like a journalistic thing, to where you give me information from your church, what they're producing, what they're saying, what they're teaching. I will analyze it on video and tell you whether or not I think that person is Calvinistic or not, or what they are saying that is bad sense making. We'll go through that. So that's the fourth kind of thing that I want to do. And the fifth kind of thing I want to do is like dedicated series, just either like verse by verse stuff or topical series, things like that. Now we're doing something on Wednesdays that's kind of like that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I got asked by a very small group of people to start doing a Bible study on Wednesdays in the morning at 6:30 in the morning on Wednesdays. And so if it wasn't for that time slot, and if it wasn't for those people asking me to, so what I did is I agreed to that, and I said, you know what, at the last minute, that's why the first one is such bad quality. At the last minute, I decided, you know what, let's film this, and then we'll put it on YouTube, because I'm having a difficult time coming up with time to put things on YouTube. And so if it wasn't for that study that we're doing, we're calling it the Awaken the Spirit study. And the reason for that title is not anything super wise or spiritual. It's just because it's so early in the morning, you're having to awaken the Spirit. That's really where the title came from. But hopefully, I'm hoping it's a double entendre, to where it also serves to awaken the Spirit, arise from the dead and Christ shall give thee light kind of thing, where you actually do wake up your spirit to some more tools that help you make more sense in life with the Bible and navigate through life with the Bible as your map. So we want to do that. If it wasn't for that series, I might not have put anything out in the past 4 to 5 weeks. And even that series, like right now, the one that I just put out last night, I wasn't able to, it took me a week before I had the time to edit it. And I just recorded one yesterday morning, because I'm recording this on Thursday, March 19th. And I will probably sit on that for a few days before I have time to edit it. And I'm hoping that this does not take a lot of editing. I can just put it out there. But that kind of gives you an idea. What I'd like to build up to, if I can, is to have enough time to do videos on those 5 things. Keep doing Calvinism, sense-making, comments and questions, sermon exposés, and then dedicated series on either verses or topics. And now what I want to talk about now is the funding and finance side of Beyond the Fundamentals. So whenever I make a video, what you see represents 1/16 of the time that I have to put into it. So before a video, I have to put about 8 hours into 1 hour of content for preparation, building slideshows, getting the material together, making sure it's worded correctly, that kind of thing. On the back side of the video, when it comes to editing and posting, updating the website, posting things like that, that kind of thing also takes about 8 hours. Now, sometimes if the preparation is very good, I can use that info for the editing, and then that shortens the editing time. Or sometimes the editing takes longer because I didn't prepare as well. It kind of is a give and take to where I can kind of play with it a little bit on where the content formatting has to take place, if you will, because the formatting it how I want it to be seen on screen takes a while. So it's about a 1 to 1/8 before and after, and that's kind of daunting. The cheapest, now I have to stop doing things that make me money when I make these videos. And the cheapest for the time that I put into a video, if I happen to have a topic or something that's like very little preparation, or it's very fast to edit, that kind of thing, the cheapest that I can make a video for my time that I take away from other things that I do is about $500 is the cheapest that I can do it for. And I know some people don't understand that time give thing there, you know, like I pay a guy to mow my yard. You say, why would you pay a guy to do that when you're completely able-bodied? Because if I can make $70 an hour doing work and I'm only paying him $60, if I mow my yard, I just wasted $10. It's that kind of thing, to where it's a cost, an opportunity cost that I'm constantly weighing back and forth. So when I want to talk about the difficulty in content production. And my difficulty in producing content comes from the inversely proportionate relationship between time available and my pressing expenses. So if I don't have pressing expenses that I have to pay for things, then I have more time available to do, this is like a hobby for me. So I have time available to make a YouTube video. If I have pressing expenses and things that I need to pay for, I have to do income generating things to meet those expenses. So at this current time, I'm having an increased expense requirement or pressing need put upon me because I'm having to legally defend my right to be able to see my kids. Now, I hesitated to share that with you because I know I'm going to get a lot of opinionated comments about that I really could do without. Okay, so think about that before you decide to comment about that. But you know, to each his own. That's what I happen to be going through right now. If I need funds for that kind of thing, unfortunately, then I have to do something that generates income, and making YouTube videos does not generate income. Unfortunately, it actually costs me. Some people give and donate very, very sacrificially. Recently, somebody just donated $350, all right? And that's amazing. And that's, my heart really goes out to that person. Thank you very much. And there are people like that. There are a handful of people who donate like that every once in a while. There is a much larger number of people who give anywhere from $5 to $25 on a regular basis. And then there's that kind of thing. If each video got 1,000 views and I put out one every 4 weeks and each viewer donated just $10, I could just do this all the time. But that's not how it works, and I understand it. And I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad for what they can't give. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to let you understand how it works and what the pressures are, and whenever there is no video, why there is no video. So I recently accepted a job to do consulting for another firm where in addition to my full-time job, I'm doing consulting for another firm where I'm reviewing RFPs and statements of work for $150 an hour. So if I need to generate income to meet expenses, I'm going to have to do that rather than make YouTube videos, because YouTube videos it doesn't do that for me. Ideally, I would like to be able to make YouTube videos and meet those expenses. So it's just a cost-benefit ratio, opportunity cost. really an equation. It's really what it comes down to. And it's kind of sad, but that's what it is. So I already talked about the cost of a video, and I talked about what I do to generate income. I took on another secular job where I do consulting, and also at my own job since the beginning of 2019, I've sought out a promotion at work and got it, and I sought out another raise at work. I was about to take another job and move to Virginia to make more money, and but my current company matched it for me to stay, so I did. And so I am going out and trying to do my part, if you will, to try to meet the expenses that are rising so that I have time to put out these videos. Because really doing these videos, it's really what I love to do. It's really what I love to do is dispense this information because it helps. And I get so much positive feedback and comments from people about how much it helps. Somebody just went on Etsy recently and bought everything that I had posted there and left a long, beautiful message about how much this stuff is helping. And so I get comments every day. So everyone who gives and supports this, I want you to know that those people who are getting help, and I get comments every day, I want you to share in some of that. And what I'd like to include that in some of the comments and questions videos so that you know the impact that this is having. And everybody who supports, that's the impact that you're having. So I'm trying to do what I can so that I can still make videos. And it's the expenses are aggressive lately, I'll put it that way. And I've told the people personally in my life, I have a lot of things going on in my life right now that are competing for resources. And I expect that to die down soon. But that's just the situation that I'm in right now. There isn't much high quality Christian-oriented content available right now. And one of the reasons are because people who are capable of producing what I think is higher quality Christian content as far as what's contained, what information is dispensed, they have to use that capability to do that in areas that generate more income. Like I'm going to toot my own horn here. I think I have the ability to generate Christian-oriented content in a way that is not like what you can find elsewhere. However, I can't use my mind to produce that kind of content because I have to use it reviewing RFPs and statements of work because that is what generates income and this doesn't. And that's another way of saying when you look at market forces, when somebody is... Christians don't tend to value the information that they claim is most important to them. You know, we pay for things like movies and Netflix and things like that, and then when it comes to paying the preacher, we're going to give the preacher $900 a month. You know, tell them, you know, have fun with that. And then what do you get for $900 a month? You probably get what you pay for. Okay, and so if on this channel, even though I love doing this, if it comes to that, this will go away, and it will just stop being something that I do. Not because that's my preference, but just an economic decision that I can't afford to do it anymore because I do it at a cost. So that's something that you need to understand. If you do, and I know there are people who value this, you tell me that you value this, but also not everybody can contribute. And I get that. I don't want anybody to feel bad for that. But if you do value this, if it's not in this economy, if it's not financially valued, it will go away. And that's the nature of it. I wish it was different, but it's just not. I'm not saying any of this out of greed or anything like that. It's just how it is. All right. Everybody's got expenses. Everybody has to generate income to meet their expenses. And that's where I am. And I just happen to be the person that's trying to put out this information. So if you want to help do something about that, that's where this is. So the consumers of the content need to value the content enough to incentivize it, or at least make it possible for the content generator to spend their time generating and producing the content. And it could be that maybe this information isn't valuable enough. I know a lot of people don't value it because they're not in the conundrum. They haven't fought Calvinism. They don't know that their sense making is bad. They don't know that they have a need for the information yet until And then the need arises, and they're like, oh my goodness, where has this been? How come nobody sent me this channel sooner? Well, maybe sooner it wouldn't have meant anything to you. Okay, so that's one of the problems we find too, is that it's just a reality that because of where people are in their life, that they actually do not value what we do here. And that's just the reality. So those who do, if you want it to keep going, that's the situation. So because of rising expenses, I'm constrained from spending my time producing content if I have any pressing expenses. And when there are other more responsible ways to generate the income to meet those expenses, I have to do those things instead of do what I want to do, which is this. All right. So some other things that I'm kind of dabbling in to try to help with this a little bit. I make all the slideshows available on the website for free as a PDF. And then I don't feel bad doing this because I have bought slideshows from other people where I actually get the PowerPoint slides. I paid $300 to a ministry one time just so I could get a set of slide decks for 7 presentations that I could then use. So I'm trying to model after that. Like, well, there's probably people who may want to take what I'm presenting, have it in PowerPoint so they can either present that or they can modify it and present their own version of it in their church. And I think it's fair to ask a modest amount of money if you're going to take that information like that in that raw form for the effort that went into it. So it's usually like $15 a slideshow, unless it's something that I know is in high demand and will sell well. I put more on it just because of the supply and demand thing. But it's still made available. So it's free on the website, and then we sell them on Etsy in PowerPoint versions. So if you just want to study, you can still get everything for free. So that's one of the ways we're looking into it. Previously, we sold t-shirts, and I didn't really like the way that was set up because I went through a company. I didn't retain any stock on hand. The company, every 14 days or every 100 orders, every time the orders reached a certain threshold, the shirts would ship out 14 days after they reached that threshold. And that, I had a lot of people asking, I ordered a shirt, where is it? That kind of thing. And they kind of didn't understand that process. And I really don't like that process either. And it could only be for a campaign, so it can't be indefinite. What we're looking at doing possibly is moving to a situation. I have somebody lined up that's willing to keep an inventory of t-shirts in the most popular sizes. And we would actually maybe sell from Etsy or something like that. Something to generate income and something that kind of helps spread the word so that more people, income or not conversation generating t-shirts, if you will. Things that make people think, things that make people talk, things that if you wear it, somebody might ask you about it. What does that mean? I thought about doing a shirt with Brother Milms on it with a cross out. And somebody actually was corresponding with me via email about what this shirt might look like. And so we're thinking about doing something like that to where people aren't sure what it is, so they have to ask. Now you're in a conversation. So, and also I'm working with a publisher about publishing a book on predestination. Now he says I'm going to make about 12 cents an hour on the effort that I put into that, but still it's going to make the information available, and it's going to be available in paperback, and on all the digitally too, Kindle, Apple Books, Kobo, things like that. So we're trying to reach out. We have several lines of effort going here. Now, there's a threshold that I would like to reach. I'm not sure exactly what that threshold is, but what I would like to do is I would like to turn off monetization on my channel. And I know right now, if you don't subscribe to YouTube Red or whatever it's called, you see all the ads and you get ads all through the videos. Well, those ads pay for things like software updates, internet bill, those things like that. They pay some of the expenses. What I'd like to do is have enough donations to where I can completely turn off the ads on the channel and not have any ads. And I'm thinking of what that threshold would be, and maybe the number that's been floating around in my head would be about $3,000 monthly that would make that happen. I also hesitated to share that, but I'm just laying all the cards out there face up on the table. That's about where it would be in order to make that feasible. And also in the future, ultimately what I'd like to do is not have to have a secular job at all and just do this full time if that's possible. And so that would be kind of good to have this as a, beyond the fundamentals, as this robust force that just won't stop that keeps holding churches and seminaries accountable for the content that they're putting out there. So that's ultimately where I want to go. But one of the baby steps on the way there is maybe have enough income generated by this so that I can hire somebody to edit the videos and manage the website, post things on SoundCloud, that sort of thing, to where all I have to do is generate the content, record the content, and then hand it over to somebody else who does all the post-production, so I can cut my effort in half, and then it would double the amount of information that I'm able to put out. So that's something else that we're trying to do. So I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm not trying to make people feel bad who can't contribute to the cause. What I'm trying to do is just lay out the situation, because you don't know what you don't know. And some of you are interested in what I'm up against trying to put out videos, and I feel like almost every force in the universe is working against me doing this, because, like last year I got my computer stolen, things like that, and you guys responded pretty well, and so you guys are wonderful. You guys are great. I really appreciate everything that you do. And but I think I owe it to you to tell you what I would like the trajectory for this channel to be, where I would like to see it go, and then what the situation is right now. Right now it operates at a loss, okay? So that in order to make it go there, it would have to stop operating at a loss. That's what I'm dealing with. So in this video, I just wanted to let you know what the vision is, what the near-term goal is, what our situation is, what we're doing, what we're trying to do, and how it affects you, and then what you can do about it. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to this video, even though there's not any theological content to it. And may the Lord bless you, and good day.